Hello.
Hey, we made it.
Thanks for joining, everybody. Welcome to the Paul, Sakai, and Danny Lulu live. I'm Danny.
I'm Paul.
And we're just going to keep rolling here. We've got some live videos that we recorded of us playing the songs off our album.
Mm-hmm.
Images of a Transitory Flowing World.
Yep.
And that first song was called 6 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the next song?
This next song's called Why Nerf Zen.
Let's have a listen. Okay. That was Why Nerf Zen. Take this thing off. So this project was sort of it was a quarantine project.
Mm-hmm.
We started it kind of out of just, for me, felt like desperation of like having nothing to do.
Well, we were coming out of working on the fog thing, right?
Oh yeah.
So that was like breaking ground with like working during quarantine.
Because we finished that in like April or May or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and just kind of like, it was like, now what?
Yeah. So like, yeah, so the previous thing we worked on, it was like this long form, unbroken stream guitars, and like it was like during like the beginning of actual hardcore shelter in place.
Yeah.
And so it was like figuring out, like everybody in this past couple year and however long it's been, just figuring out how do we make all of our work remote and all this stuff like that. And it was such a burnout working on that project, right?
The fog.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that one was, we were sending it back and forth and like, oh, this part, this minute 8 and 32 seconds, like there's like a weird sound, like
Yeah.
and it was just like grinding away, and it was one unbroken 12-minute track.
Yeah.
And
it was like scoring. It was like scoring. We were doing like music scoring. Yeah.
And it was like we usually do that stuff in person, and we were both just like completely burnt out.
Yeah.
Doing it remotely.
And so this one was like, let's do everything like the opposite of what that was.
Yeah.
Like super, like what's the easiest way we can make this like enjoyable working on this thing together?
Yeah. And for me, it was just like something to do.
Yeah.
During, because it was like everything was closed. Even going to the grocery store was like this experience. So what we did was we just recorded things independently. I recorded guitar things. Paul recorded drum things without any like input from each other. There was no like planning. And then we sent them to each other.
Yeah. And so like the working title for like this whole project was Vignettes. And we just wanted it to just be like really, really low bar in terms of like having it be fleshed out ideas or like, oh, we're going to turn this into a whole song or whatever. Like it was just, we wanted it to be as like fun and kind of spontaneous and just off the cuff as possible.
Yeah. And like vignettes as opposed to like long drawn out movie.
Yeah. Basically. Or like ideas that like develop into whole things.
Yeah. And
like everything else we've done so far pretty much was like long drawn out things.
I just remember it being like just having no attachment to like, oh, I want to make this kind of record or this kind of piece. Just like whatever was feeling, whatever I felt strongly. And then likewise, recording over your stuff for me was like even less like pressure because there's already a structure. There's already all these decisions made about it. So for me, that was great.
Yeah. So like we had ideas independent of each other. We didn't like talk about, oh, I'm going to make this thing or anything. We just came up with a pool of ideas and then we just sent them, exchanged them, and then worked on them independently and then sent them back like, this is what I did. And it wasn't even like, do you like this?
Yeah.
It was like, this is it. It's done.
This is what I decided to do.
This is what I decided.
Over this. And I remember when we put them all together, it was like, wow, we just recorded like 15 songs.
Yeah.
Well, should we
let's
play
do
the next one?
Let's do another one.
Okay, so this next song is called Monterey Cypress, which you'll see why in a bit. Okay. Okay, and we're back. So that was Monterey Cypress. And that track, that was a track that I recorded a guitar part first. And then Paul recorded drums over it. And I'm curious, like, because what I sent you was like just this. There was no like time, no obvious like meter. It was pretty like there was like sort of like a structure, but it was so like free form. And when you sent back what you had dubbed over it, it was like it was really cool to hear because you would kind of like it felt like you turned something sort of liquid into like solid shapes or something. And I guess I'm curious what your reaction to that was, hearing that and like how you went about approaching it.
Yeah. I think that's I feel like I learned a lot about the drums in particular through this project, just because it like when you're collaborating, I don't really think too much about like specifically what it is that the impact that what I'm playing has on the like in changing the group, because normally it's like
intuitive.
Yeah, it's like intuitive, and then like when you're doing stuff, it's like the song or the arrangement, or even like whether it's prepared or if it's like in an improvised setting, like all of that is just kind of developing as you go. And so you're not really thinking about it. But when you have something that's static, like your part is static, even though it's like free flowing.
Right.
No matter what I did, whatever I would do would like frame, like you're saying, would frame it differently. So it's like having, I don't know, like having like a set, but then like lighting it in different ways.
Yeah.
Like I can't take things out of the set, you know, like a movie set, right? I can't like take objects out. I can't like change anything about it, but I can like change the way it feels or the way it sounds. And so I think in general, that's what I was finding with working with more of your freeform stuff was like, how do I kind of like, it felt like a really selfless project in a weird way. In that like, normally when you're improvising together, it's like a conversation, there's going back and forth, and there's like, this one felt so much more where it's like, I'm like making, like, I'm like really, really just giving myself to what you've put down, because it's like I had to be really generous with whatever I was doing, because it's like if I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do with this, and I like drop it down, then you're like, obviously you're recording, so you're not gonna like change it.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but for that one specifically, there's kind of like this loose, like kind of lilting swing to it, and so I ended up finding that like I could play a lot of like kind of broken jazz stuff over it, and then I tried to stay out away from like meter, where it's like there's like like a meter of like 4/4 or like any kind of specific meter, because you're not in a meter. And so it really was more about kind of playing a lot more linearly as opposed to cyclically, playing very linear and highlighting and following your phrasing. Yeah. And there are moments where you kind of change subdivisions and you change the foundation of like the feel of what you're doing. And so in those moments, it's like I just kind of go back in the bag of tricks where you just play kind of like free stuff. Yeah. But because the free stuff is contextualized by like that kind of broken time swing, that definitely has that feel. Like, and I kind of established that right at the beginning of that thing. Then it sounds like it's more kind of loose free stuff. It doesn't sound like, oh wow, he's just like, I'm just like making color or making texture. It felt like I was actually like following it.
Well, that makes sense, because my thinking in it is like, I think I sent you like 2 that were just like actually just like free improv. I think you sent me one that we ended up not using. What was it called? Triceratops Rock.
Yeah, Triceratops Rock.
I couldn't figure out what to do with that one.
Yeah.
But it was like with this one that we just heard, it was like I wanted it to be loose and open, but it definitely was like there was structure in it.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you sort of approached it on like a micro scale the same way, where like between musical moments there's sort of anchors that can kind of ground it.
And it definitely, especially for this one, it definitely wasn't like, okay, listen through, I'm going to learn the piece, like how some music would be like you would memorize the piece and you know where you're headed and where you're going. I really tried to approach it as though I was playing with you in the room.
Yeah.
And really trying to get into your mindset and into your subdivisions, into like the feel of what you were playing, and kind of like almost like I was like trying to breathe with you, because I feel like with music that doesn't have like strict like cyclical meter, you have to kind of like get into like the breathing space of a person. So I could feel you like, I could feel your phrasing, I could feel where you were taking a breath and leaving space, and then I would kind of like fill that space. Or
it's funny because one thing that was consistent throughout the whole project was, or mostly, was that everything I sent you was sort of like loose, breathing, with a little structure, whereas I think almost everything you sent me was like, it was like almost like rudiments, kind of like blocks put together, kind of very orderly, a very strict time signature. And so while I also had this feeling of like, you said selfless feeling, for me it was sort of like carefree, because I didn't have to like insert myself as much into like spaces. I mean, I did, but not in like a way that was like, oh, and then here I can do this. And it was sort of more like what kind of like rhythm locks in with what you're playing. And so I just sort of like listened to it and kind of like jammed over it, basically. And it felt very carefree. I wouldn't say it felt selfless. Some of them felt like kind of gratuitous. The way I like, oh, what if I put some like funky wah-wah pedal guitar over this one?
We didn't record live any of the stuff with bass in it, but I think those are some of my favorite tracks off of the album. Is when Danny, like, I feel like everybody like in quarantine like picked up a new hobby, and like yours was like you discovered you were like a closet bassist.
I love bass,
and it was just some of the stuff on there was just like just makes those songs.
It could have just been good bass and drums. Maybe didn't even need guitar. But yeah, it's interesting how we seem to approach the onset differently. Where you sent me structured things and I sent you these loose things. Well, should we listen to another track?
Yeah, let's do.
This is called The House, probably named for all the time in the house we spent while doing this. It was this was one that I sent to Paul, so it also has sort of like this like loose feel to it. But
just really quick, well, maybe I'll ask you after about this one. Yeah,
we'll save it. All right. Nice.
Great.
So yeah, Paul had a
Yeah,
question.
yeah. So for this one, what were, because like I got these, and this one was pretty close to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
As far as what your recorded part was.
Yeah.
And like, what was your thought process in approaching specifically this one? Like, what kind, like structurally, how were you kind of conceiving of this one, or how did it come about?
This one was like, I was thinking about. I think I had kind of hit a wall. Like when we started the project, I was like, "Oh, I can finally do something with this idea," and I record that, send it off, do this with this other idea, and was sort of like.
Yeah, definitely like running out of ideas.
There was like this
point.
Yeah, there was this,
I was like, well, I'm really scraping the bottom.
There was this plateau that happened. And I remember this was one of the last ones that before I really just was like, I can't. I'm out. But it was, I remember I mentioned that because I had thought of this kind of pattern, like this really simple scale. It's just like a pentatonic scale. I remember why I called it house was because of the way I learned playing guitar scales was like boxes. And so like on the fretboard you have like dots on the strings, and so this was like 2 dots and then 1 dot up in the middle, shaped like a house. And I was playing with just how can I move that simple shape around, sort of like I was playing a lot of like Japanese folk music, and it's all these pentatonic scales. Yeah. And so I just kind of been in the habit of playing that. And I just tried moving it around and seeing what kinds of like taking that really simple kind of scale and then how to like disrupt it with like a really dissonant thing. Without sounding like I wanted it to kind of flow somehow between them, and I think just I added a bunch of gain and reverb, and it kind of just became this like fun way to think about. It was like a very mechanical way to think about playing, of just like I'll do this here and then like slide down like fret by fret until I'm in like kind of like a fifth down, and I do the exact same scale but down here, and then like I moved it down again, and it kind of like formed that way. So it was almost more of like this conscious thing of like, let's see what this kind of approach yields, because before it was all intuitive, and that one was a lot more deliberate, I think.
Interesting. That one for me, working on it, was like one of the more fun ones. I think just because I was able to go and play different kinds of rhythms and evoke different kinds of like feels in very rapid succession. And and for me, this one I really did feel like there was a structure in terms of like there's like an A section, and then there's like a B section, and then it goes back to the A section, and then there's like a C section, and then it goes back to the A section, and then you're done. Something like that. And so like feeling that, as I remember as I was working through it, I remember feeling that you were like kind of guiding me. I could see like I guess that's really interesting that's how you put it together, because I felt like
there's like a logic to it.
Like Monterey Cypress, I remember being like pissed off on several occasions. Like several of the takes was just like, oh, this is garbage. I sound so bad. Yeah. This is I'm.
And that's what was so miraculous how it ended up.
Yeah.
It was like,
wow,
I can't believe you made sense of that.
Yeah. This one was very much like, it was like I felt like you were leading me through like a very logical and so it was just a matter of like I just had to like set you up a little bit, and like set you up so that you could like the alley-oop, I had just set you up so you could just like slam it home. And it was this one was really fun.
Did you find yourself looking at the actual waveform on the recording? Because I did that with like all of yours basically.
Interesting.
Because there's certain moments in the recordings where you'll hit with a moment, and we'll be in sync, but there's maybe nothing. It's not like an obvious. It's just sort of an impulsive movement that doesn't really fit in. It's not a pattern I'm playing. It's just a spontaneous decision, and
I can't remember.
Maybe you just did like 1,000 takes and you just
yeah, I did that.
learned.
This one I don't think was as many, but yeah,
That's
some of them
interesting.
were more.
Yeah, because so the other one's like the second song. If you've been with us since the start of the broadcast, Nerf Zen, that was one that you sent me that had this like
that like march groove in the beginning.
Yeah,
and then it goes to like some like psychedelic like
yeah
groove,
and then back
kind of
to the
thing,
marching,
and then
thing.
back to the marching.
So that one was like, for me, it was just so like, that one I actually had a that chord change and the A and B sections. I had already kind of been playing around with, and as I was just listening to it, playing over it, and I just started playing that, and it seemed to fit in. And I feel like my approach to your stuff, like the next one we're going to play, is like it was a Paul track. Paul recorded his drums first, and then I just kind of like played a bunch of stuff over the top of it till it sounded good. And though, yeah, like I said, those felt so like just kind of straightforward, like it had already been kind of decided.
Yeah.
Even though what ended up is like so weird and like nothing that we would probably have recorded had we tried to do this stuff together.
Yeah.
That was like a weird thing about the whole project. It's like some of the stuff I could see us having like made it if we were playing in the same room, but the vast majority of it is like feels just like kind of left field.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, this next one we're gonna do. This will be the last one. It's a Nikkei Community Potluck, and this one when we were kind of rehearsing for the recordings that we're playing for you, we were just kind of, I think we get bored easily, and so we just remixed it.
Yeah, we did a different style.
Yeah, different style. So it's kind of like the same structure in the same song, but just kind of with a different, instead of it being like,
you did like a it was like a bossa nova.
Yeah, for the original one.
Yeah.
And then this one is more like, if we're like more like finger style, kind of more folksy guitar.
Yeah.
Folksy version of it.
Yeah. Which was really fun to do.
Yeah.
That was like a wild discovery.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one was like, to me, this was like my favorite track of the like recorded album.
Yeah, this was I think this was the one this was the one that when I heard it back after you sent it to me, then I thought for the first time, like, oh, this could actually be an actual project.
Yeah.
Because like up until this point, we're just kind of screwing around.
Well, this one, it was like, it felt pretty much finished.
Yeah.
After like you sent me the thing and then I recorded and sent it to you and we're like, nice, that one's good.
Yeah. And
I recall this was like, I maybe did like 4 or 5 takes of it, and it just kind of coalesced and
yeah. So we'll hear the let's play it. We'll hear the finger style guitar folksy version of Nikkei
Community Potluck.
Yeah.
Coming in hot.
Nice.
So that was Nikkei Community Potluck. So yeah, like we said before, that one had this like the original. All I got was a bossa nova, like 3 minutes of bossa nova drums with some like some like ups and
Yeah, a little bit of shaping,
some energy,
but mostly
yeah. So like why like you had that one in Nerve Zen, we had the marching beat.
Mm-hmm.
You had like a Dilla kind of like thing.
Yeah. That was all in a day. That's kind of Dilla-y, but yeah, sure.
The mob.
Yeah, kind of more of like a busy like groove type thing.
They were all kind of like identifiable like beats. Like what was your like kind of thought process? Because I was like, oh, I could just send them like loose free stuff.
Yeah.
But you did the opposite.
I think one of the things that I enjoy working the most with you, Danny, about, or one of the things I enjoy the most working with you is that I'm able to like, we're able to, I think it's true in all of the projects, there's something about exploring something more deeply about like who we are or where we come from, or there's something grounded in like kind of seeking something of ourself, I think. And so I think for me with these particular grooves, it really was like I think I feel safe in our creative relationship to like put out things that feel very like foundational. Like we have an upcoming project that we'll talk about in a little bit that's very near and dear to like my childhood. And so for me, these, I was taking a long time to answer you, but basically the grooves, I think definitely Nikkei and definitely Nerf Zen. Oh, and then Water Dog Trot too. That was another one. That was like, I was like, I'm going to play a shuffle groove.
A shuffle.
For me, it was like revisiting my childhood and playing drum beats that I hadn't played since I was just learning how to play drums. And that I had kind of like moved away from because it's like, oh, I'm too hip now to play.
Not
like
supposed to play those things.
Yeah, like I'm too hip now to play this kind of stuff because it's so like, like basic or something. And I want to play like more complex, linear, like house, Monterey Cypress-y type stuff to like. And so I think for me it was like I remember I was like literally cracking up when I was like, oh, I'm going to record a bossa groove. And so there are a number of takes because I had to like remember like how to do it. And they're kind of rough. And then for Zen, that one was like, that's like my version of like the Steve Gadd. Steve Gadd starts like all of his drum solos with like this march groove. This, how does it go? No. If you look it up online, any of Steve Gadd's drum solos, they always start the same with this march groove. I can't think of it now because I just have Zen in my head. But so it was like, it's not the same, but it's like definitely like the same kind of instrumentation, like the snare drum with the bass drum, and then like goes into like some kind of like groove idea. Yeah. And like when I was a kid and just learning how to play drums, it's like I remember hearing Steve Gadd at the beginning, and I was just like, oh man, Steve Gadd's so cool. Yeah. And so that it was revisiting like childhood grooves that I was just first learned when I was first learning how to play the drums.
Was there a part of it of like, I'm gonna play this kind of like straight thing, and was there any part of it that was sort of like, so you would see what I would do over it? Like, because I felt like I ended up, some of them playing very, I kind of like fell in line where it's like, oh, well, it's like a shuffle. So I'm going to do this like, ba-bum, ba-bum. Like I can't not do like a shuffle rhythm guitar thing.
I think some of it after a while, it was like trying to one up. Yeah. Not one up you, but like in like you're sending
sort of goading each other.
Yeah, you're like sending jokes back and forth. And so for me, it was my way of being playful. Yeah. Where it was like, oh, this is hilarious. Like I haven't played this since I was like 14 years old. And like I have no idea what Danny's gonna put over this.
And there's something, because I had the same experience with like Water Dog Trot. It was just like this kind of like like some I've heard like all over the place, and it was just like, I don't know, it was like a nice excuse to sort of like explore that with my present like kind of state of mind. And again, like the greater context of this project was sort of like just like whatever comes in your mind, and like what I would do is I would just play your thing on repeat and just like play over it until I sort of was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And sometimes I'd have to reel it way in, like realizing you can't do that much. Or maybe a much more skilled musician than me could do something really crazy and unique over a shuffle. But like I was just like, well, you know, I know this sounds all right if I do this thing, which was nice. Again, it's like very like, it felt like low pressure, and it's just kind of like a nice, it's like a safe musical safe space.
I think a lot of it was just trying to amuse myself. Like one of the ones you sent, this like really like ethereal free thing, and I was like, I had just finished watching like some documentary on the Bee Gees, and so I was like, I'm gonna like play like something I heard off of that documentary. So I'm just
Which one was that? Was it Chrysanthemum?
No, that one
was impossible though.
Maybe it was Fruit of the Loom.
Oh yeah, that's the noise one.
Yeah.
I sent you like a free one.
Yeah.
And you wanted to do a Bee Gees?
Yeah, it's like a Bee Gees thing. And I mean, it's mixed a little different, so it doesn't sound good, but it's like basically.
Yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that.
Anyway.
That's very funny.
Yeah, so I felt like it was like, I don't know, it reminded me of like being a kid and like, did you ever do this like when you were a kid and you like with your group of friends and you would just like have like imaginary play?
Make up a game or send like a world.
Yeah, run around and like shoot imaginary things with imaginary guns.
Yeah.
I think it was the 90s, so we were really into military stuff. We were all brainwashed.
War was cool.
Yeah.
No, it was like, this was a very like light project.
Yeah,
it felt very light and was a nice, like, definitely not like if it was the only way we could work, it would be pretty rough. Like that, it would get old, you know.
Yeah.
But
I'm glad that we're back to doing stuff in the same thing.
In the moment though, like at the time, this was what, like last May or no, maybe later.
Was it through the summer? I don't remember.
I think it was the fall.
Well, maybe. It doesn't matter.
Whatever. Like a year ago almost. Maybe we started. But like, just as like an antidote to, let's just like make something. Let's just like put some kind of effort into some creativity without any real like what was fun about feeling comfortable playing like a shuffle or like playing over a bossa nova thing. It just was like, just sort of like, for me it was like a nice distraction, honestly, to like just kind of make something and put something together with someone else. It was really nice. Well, you mentioned we have some upcoming projects, one of which is kind of taking inspiration from the music of Lao music. Like Lao folk music. Yeah.
It's kind of like the sequel to Chill Beats 1.
Chill Beats 1.
Chill Beats 1.
Which we've also kind of like
we recorded it.
We recorded it.
Yeah.
We hadn't really recorded it before. And
so we have like a nice version of it.
So it's going to be a cool like kind of 1-2 of the series we have called Chill Beats. So that'll be coming out soon. What else we got?
We're just gonna go back and re-record some more old stuff.
I'm gonna go re-record some old stuff.
Yeah,
which will be fun.
Chill Beats 2 is still got to animate it.
Still got to animate it,
but all the recordings are done. The music is put together. So we got that.
Yep. If you guys have any questions there, feel free to fire them away. We'll hang out.
And if you gotta go, thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for hanging out.
That's it. The stream's over.
Oh, I wonder how the Giants are doing. If those of you guys who are missing,
Yeah, you guys want to talk about sports?
you're missing the Giants Dodgers games. I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So. Okay, it's the top of the ninth.
Wow.
The Giants are up 4-0. So
very nice.
There you go. I'm sorry if you were recording it to watch later.
Spoil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you look in your chat.
Okay. Well, let's hang out for another minute. People seem to be people are hanging around. Yeah, and we'll be posting the performance the performance videos that we're on.
Yeah.
And maybe releasing them in some.
Yeah. What ended up happening? So like the show the I guess what you guys just watched.
Yeah.
Like because we were able to do, because all the stuff on the album is all recorded separately, but that was so like I think Monterey Cypress, that was one take and we didn't do any other takes because we just got it because it was just so good, and that was maybe the second time we had played it in person together.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like magic. And so some of the I feel like the versions that we played in person together are probably better.
Yeah, they're way better.
They're way better. Sorry if you bought the other one, but it doesn't matter.
The other one is like a product of
of
the process.
Yeah.
It was interesting because some of them we tried playing in person and it was like it did not sound or like wasn't possible. Like it needed bass or it was just not really. We couldn't really get the feel of it. I'm sure we could work some of them out, but I think it's like a testament to like what why that process like worked and why it sounds the way it does.
Yeah.
But as soon as we get in the room together, it's like it kind of felt like we were covering ourselves for some of them, and we had to kind of figure out, okay, how's this going to actually work in person? And
but like things like Zen, there's just like the energy level and just like it's just so killer.
It's
like,
hard to
like we were freaking out afterwards because it was like, man, that was really really fun.
Yeah, that was when we played multiple times.
Yeah, and
same with House.
Yeah, House was just like
House was very fun.
It was like 3 or 4 takes that we did that day, and they were all good. They all felt really good. That was just the one we liked the most, but. Yeah, so we'll probably maybe we'll post up like kind of as like an EP or something of just the recordings of the audio from those video files, because
also post the videos up.
Yeah, we'll do that too
because those turned out pretty cool.
Yeah. And then the stream too probably will be up there too, right? Yeah. Well, I don't think I got any questions, so I think
that's it.
We're probably good.
What do you think? Should I should I just let the videos run through once?
Sure, yeah. Might as well let them run again.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put a little note saying the stream is actually over, but enjoy these things.
All right, well, thanks everybody for hanging out with us.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for sticking around.
Yeah. Go watch the ball game.
Yeah. We should go watch the ball game. All right. Peace.
Okay, see ya.